By December of 2161, the final preparations for the Unity's invasion of the New California wasteland were nearly complete. The size of the Master's army of super-mutant soldiers was growing by the day, and if left unchecked, it would grow unstoppable. It seemed as though there was nothing and no one that could stop the Master from achieving his mad dream of uniting New California by converting its population into super-mutants. That is, until an unlikely hero emerges from Vault 13. This hero, known to Wasteland legend simply as the Vault Dweller, would leave his vault on an epic journey across southern New California in search of a water chip to save his people. The Vault Dweller's mission would soon turn from saving his vault to saving the entire wasteland. In this video, we will be covering the Mutant Crisis of 2161 to 2162 and the journey of the Vault Dweller. For nearly a century, Vault 13, nestled safely beneath Mount Whitney in the New California wasteland, had kept a generation of its residents safe from the horrors of the outside world. Then, in late 2161, the Vault's water purification chip malfunctioned, leading to a rapid depletion of its available reserves of potable drinking water. The Vault's leader, Overseer Jackaran, was faced with a difficult dilemma. As part of the overall experiment in the Societal Preservation Program, Vault 13 was under orders to remain sealed for 200 years. But lacking a suitable replacement chip on hand, Vault 13 would run out of drinking water within 5 to 6 months. The Overseer had to send one of the Vault residents out into the wasteland in search of a new water chip. Jackaran soon made his choice of who to send. The man the Overseer chose, who would become known to legend as the Vault Dweller, was an outspoken critic of the Vault remaining sealed and isolated from the outside world. He was the leader of a vocal group of young residents who wished to open the Vault. And so Overseer Jackaran was presented with an opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. By sending the Vault Dweller out in search of a new water chip, it would also calm the flames of dissension within the Vault. On December 4th, the Vault Dweller met the Overseer in his office, and Jackaran briefed him on his mission. He would have to find a replacement water chip within 150 days before the Vault ran out of water. Jackaran provided the coordinates for the nearby Vault 15 to the east for the Vault Dweller to begin his search, while also providing him with a 10mm pistol and some basic survival gear. The Overseer then wished him luck on his quest. At 7:21 AM on December 5th, 2161, the Vault Dweller set out from Vault 13 to begin his journey. As he exited the cave leading out from Vault 13's entrance beneath Mount Whitney, the Vault Dweller shielded his eyes from the bright sunlight and gazed out at the surrounding mountains and desert. It was his first sight of the outside world. After leaving the cave, the Vault Dweller set out to the east in search of Vault 15. The first few days of his journey were a struggle to adapt to the harsh realities of the wasteland. While wandering the desolate wastes, he battled packs of mutated rats and red scorpions. Finally, after 10 days of travelling, on December 15th, the Vault Dweller reached the outskirts of a small, walled agricultural village in the desert, halfway to Vault 15, Shady Sands. The village of Shady Sands had been founded by a group of former Vault 15 residents who had used a gek to create their little settlement. They were one of 4 groups to leave Vault 15. The other 3 factions split off to form the raider gangs known as the Khans, Vipers and Jackals. The Vault Dweller proceeded into the village and met with Areta, the village leader. Areta was initially suspicious of the Vault Dweller and his intentions, but while discussing the village's plight with frequent red scorpion attacks, the Vault Dweller volunteered to stop the mutant creatures at their source. Delighted, Areta pointed the Vault Dweller towards the town doctor, Reslo, who informed him about the red scorpion's rapid rate of mutation, far too rapid to be caused by natural mutation from the war. The Vault Dweller destroyed the red scorpions and their nests, eliminating their threat to Shady Sands. He also gathered samples of their venom sacs to give to Reslo, to produce an antidote to the red scorpion stingers. After that, the Vault Dweller returned to Shady Sands, and began restocking supplies for his continued journey to Vault 15. Before leaving, however, the Vault Dweller met 2 more figures of interest: Tandy, the daughter of Areta, who was bored of her life in Shady Sands and wished to venture out of the village to seek adventure in the wasteland, and Ian, a mercenary guard formerly employed by the Crimson Caravan Company, who had been shot by raiders and healed by the people of Shady Sands. As gratitude for their assistance, Ian now resided in town as a guard. Talking with Ian for a bit, the Vault Dweller asked him if he would like to travel to Vault 15, promising him a piece of the action if he came along. Intrigued, Ian accepted the Vault Dweller's offer, joining him. They then set out for Vault 15. 2 days after leaving Shady Sands, the Vault Dweller and Ian arrived at Vault 15, finding the bunker in disrepair and ruin. The only creatures in the vault were irradiated rats and mole rats. As the two fought their way into the lower levels, they found the accessway to the control room blocked by rubble. With any prospects of finding a water chip at Vault 15 now off the table, the Vault Dweller and Ian returned to Shady Sands, where they intended to rest before heading southwest to another settlement Ian had told him of, Junktown. Before the duo could leave Shady Sands, however, Seth and a distraught Aradesh met with them. They informed the Vault Dweller that Tandy had been kidnapped by the Khans to the south. The Vault Dweller reassured Aradesh that he would rescue his daughter and bring her home. The Vault Dweller and Ian then headed south, armed and ready to take on the raiders. The Khans were a vicious band of raiders, and when the Vault Dweller met with their leader, Garl Deathhand, the raider refused to release Tandy. And so the Vault Dweller and Ian gunned down the entire raider gang, save for one survivor, who managed to escape into the desert wasteland. After this massacre, the rescuers released Tandy and the raiders' other captives from their cells. They then returned to Shady Sands, receiving a hero's welcome from the villagers. With Shady Sands safe from further attacks, the Vault Dweller and Ian set out to the southwest for Junktown, leaving Aradesh and Tandy behind. On December 30th, after a week-long journey, the Vault Dweller and Ian arrived at the walled settlement of Junktown. Here, the Vault Dweller assisted Junktown's tough yet honest mayor, Killian Darkwater, in stopping the plots of Gizmo, a corrupt casino owner who wished to turn the settlement into a den of vice. During his stay in Junktown, the Vault Dweller acquired 2 new traveling companions, Tycho, a wandering desert ranger hailing from the Mojave Wasteland in Nevada, and Dogmeat, a masterless canine that would attach himself to the Vault Dweller and become his faithful hound. With Tycho and Dogmeat joining the Vault Dweller and Ian on their journey, they assisted Killian in driving out the last of Gizmo's kind from Junktown. After helping clean up Junktown, the Vault Dweller and company travelled further south, reaching a large growing settlement built around a desert oasis close to the pre-war town of Barstow, now known as the Hub. Upon arriving at the Hub in early January 2162, the Vault Dweller continued his search for a water chip. He investigated the downtown district, talking to representatives of the big 3 merchant caravans, the Crimson Caravan, Fargo Traders, and the Water Merchants. Although the Water Merchants didn't possess a water chip themselves, the Vault Dweller negotiated a deal with their manager to send regular shipments of water to Vault 13, thus prolonging the Vault's dwindling water supply in the short term. Next, the Vault Dweller began exploring the hub. He met the old ghoul Harold, who, after being shown kindness by the Vault Dweller, told him his story of trying to find the source of the frequent mutant attacks with his friend Dr. Richard Gray at an old military base, and how he never saw Gray again after the Doctor fell into a vat of green chemicals. Lastly, the Vault Dweller and his party assisted Butch, manager of the Fargo Traders, in discovering who was responsible for attacks on hub merchant caravans. After being led to a nearby cave and battling a powerful creature known as a Deathclaw, the Vault Dweller discovered a mortally wounded supermutant in the cave, and on its body he found a radio and its communications log, which linked the caravan attacks to a marauding band of supermutants and someone called the Master. With the hub a dead end towards finding a water chip, the Vault Dweller followed the only clue he could find: rumours of an underground vault beneath the ruins of the nearby city of Bakersfield, now known as the Necropolis. The settlement of Necropolis was inhabited by ghouls, former residents of Vault 12 beneath the city, which had been exposed to massive floods of radiation due to its faulty vault door, intentionally left unable to seal. When the Vault Dweller and his party reached Necropolis on February 13th, they were immediately attacked by packs of feral ghouls whose minds had rotted away. The Vault Dweller and his companions navigated their way through the Necropolis's sewers, where they met a group of peaceful ghouls who confirmed that there indeed was a vault beneath the settlement, and even better, it contained a functioning water chip. The Vault Dweller offered to fix the Necropolis's broken water pump in exchange for information on reaching the vault. Upon emerging from the sewers, the Vault Dweller and company were accosted by another group of ghouls, this faction led by a ghoul named Set. Set informed the Vault Dweller that a band of super mutants were occupying the water pump facility and asked him to eliminate these mutants. The Vault Dweller and his companions journeyed to Necropolis's water pump facility, where they encountered the super mutants. The super mutants proved powerful opponents for the Vault Dweller and his friends, with one even burning Ian to death with a flamethrower. Enraged at Ian's demise, the Vault Dweller killed the remaining super mutants. The Vault Dweller, Tycho and Dogmeat continued into the facility, and the Vault Dweller succeeded in repairing the water pump. Making his way down a ladder to Vault 12, the Vault Dweller and his remaining companions reached the Vault's control room. Here, the Vault Dweller at long last found a working water chip. Unplugging the chip from the Vault mainframe, the Vault Dweller looked on triumphantly at the small device in his trembling hands. A week later, the Vault Dweller returned to Vault 13, and with great satisfaction, he delivered the water chip to the Overseer. While Jacaren began installing the water chip, the Vault Dweller headed to the library to write a report on his findings in the wasteland, and then get some much-needed rest. A few hours later, the Vault Dweller returned to the Overseer, who was not pleased with what he read in the reports. Jacaren informed the Vault Dweller that, based on his reports, the mutation rate in the wasteland was far too rapid to be a result of the war and radiation. With a grim look on his face, the Overseer stated that someone was generating new mutants. Jacaren now had a new task for the Vault Dweller. To ensure the safety of the Vault, he had to venture back out into the wasteland and destroy the source of the super mutant threat. With a deep sigh, the Overseer expressed remorse for having to send the Vault Dweller once more onto the breach. Nevertheless, the Vault Dweller rested, re-equipped, and then ventured out into the wastes of New California again. After leaving Vault 13, Tycho parted ways with the Vault Dweller, wishing him luck on his new quest. The Vault Dweller returned to the hub, where he picked up the trail of his investigation. While unearthing clues, the Vault Dweller met Decker, the leader of a shady criminal syndicate known as the Underground. Although Decker and the Underground attempted to manipulate the Vault Dweller into doing their dirty work, the Vault Dweller instead turned the tables on the criminals, informing Sheriff Justin Green of their sinister deeds and helping the sheriff take Decker and his goons down. In the process, the Vault Dweller helped save a man being held hostage by Decker's thugs. He informed the Vault Dweller that he was an initiate of an order known as the Brotherhood of Steel, and the initiate gave the Vault Dweller the coordinates for their bunker to the north at Lost Hills. After leaving the hub, the Vault Dweller and Dogmeat journeyed to the Lost Hills bunker, where he asked to join the Brotherhood of Steel, believing them to possess the knowledge he needed for his mission. Instead, the Brotherhood sent the Vault Dweller on a fool's errand far to the south to a giant crater known simply as the Glow. This irradiated hole in the ground turned out to be a treasure trove of pre-war tech from the former West Tech research facility that once inhabited the site, and the Vault Dweller found the remains of a power-armored soldier named Sergeant Allen, who had written a log of his final moments after separating from Captain Roger Maxon's group. Venturing deeper into the underground base, the Vault Dweller discovered a Zax artificial intelligence supercomputer, which informed him of the base's research into the forced evolutionary virus. Upon returning to Lost Hills bearing tech from the Glow, the power-armored guards were shocked to see him alive, but nevertheless welcomed his arrival and the tech he brought with him in the form of Sergeant Allen's holodisk. The Brotherhood welcomed him into their secretive bunker and shared their knowledge on the supermutant threat, while also providing him with a suit of T-51B power armor. The Brotherhood's scribes provided the Vault Dweller with a holodisk containing their autopsy report on a captured supermutant. The supermutants were, in fact, sterile, and their population would die out within a generation. With the information he gained at Lost Hills, the Vault Dweller travelled onward to the Los Angeles Boneyard, making a short stop at Necropolis en route to visit his old ghoul acquaintances. But as soon as the Vault Dweller entered Necropolis, he sensed something was wrong, and he learned that the supermutants had attacked Necropolis shortly after he left, laying waste to the settlement and killing all its ghoul inhabitants. A single wounded ghoul survivor revealed that the supermutants were looking for the Vault Dweller just before he died. Upon reaching the skeletal ruins of Los Angeles, the Vault Dweller continued his investigation. He met with a group of doctors, scientists, and scholars known as the Followers of the Apocalypse, who told him of the cult known as the Children of the Cathedral, led by Morpheus, who was based further to the south. He also learned of the truth behind the supermutants and that the children were a front for the Master's army, part of his planned conquest of the wasteland. On March 3, 2162, the Vault Dweller arrived at the cathedral in the southern part of the LA Boneyard. Stealing the robes of one of the Master's servants, the Vault Dweller infiltrated the LA Vault beneath the cathedral. Navigating through the dilapidated corridors of the LA Vault, the Vault Dweller finally came face to face with the horrific sight of the Master. The leader of the supermutants now gave the Vault Dweller a simple choice: to join Unity or die where he stood. The two soon engaged in a vicious battle, but during a lull in the combat, the Vault Dweller managed to tell the Master that his supermutants were sterile, and presented him with the holodisk data provided by the Brotherhood of Steel as proof. Overwhelmed with grief by the revelation that all his work was for naught, the Master, briefly showing a glimmer of his former self, Dr. Richard Gray, decided to issue a self-destruct sequence within the LA Vault, telling the Vault Dweller to leave while he still had hope. The Vault Dweller then escaped the cathedral before it exploded in a ball of nuclear fire. The Master was dead. All that remained was to eliminate the source of the supermutant army. Returning to Lost Hills, the Vault Dweller persuaded High Elder John Maxson to lend him a team of paladins to assault the Mariposa military base, the source of the supermutants. On April 20th, the Vault Dweller assaulted Mariposa with the aid of several power-armored paladins and his faithful canine Dogmeat. After blowing open the entrance, the party navigated through the sterile halls of the facility. They had to maneuver through several force fields in their path, and unfortunately, Dogmeat, being colorblind, died while running through one of the fields. Stricken with grief at the death of Dogmeat, the Vault Dweller fought through hordes of supermutants to reach the central control facility. There, he and the Brotherhood Paladins battled the Lieutenant, a supermutant officer in command of the Master's army. After defeating the Lieutenant, the Vault Dweller reached the FEV VAT chamber and initiated a self-destruct sequence from the control console. The party then escaped the facility just before it exploded, burying the Mariposa military base in a mountain of rubble. The Vault Dweller looked over his handiwork and, his mission complete, made his way back home to Vault 13. The Vault Dweller's journey through the New California wasteland impacted the lives of all those he encountered. The death of the Master and the destruction of the FEV Vats at Mariposa brought an end to the Master's mad schemes of conquest. Under pressure from an offensive by the Brotherhood of Steel, the remnants of the Master's army retreated east beyond the Rockies. Thanks to the Vault Dweller's assistance, the settlement of Shady Sands grew into a major powerhouse in the region, and Aradesh and Tandy were later responsible for founding the New California Republic. Junktown became a fair and honest community under Killian Darkwater's leadership. The hub prospered, and Old Harold brought the settlement's ghoul population into harmony with the humans. The Brotherhood of Steel helped the other human outposts drive away the supermutant armies with minimal loss of life on both sides of the conflict. The Brotherhood slowly began reintroducing their technology to the wasteland, with little disruption or chaos, while wisely remaining out of the power struggle, becoming a significant research and development house in New California. Now, the only question that remained was, what happened to the Vault Dweller? After returning to Vault 13 on May 10, 2162, the Vault Dweller found himself facing Overseer Jacaren at the Vault's entrance. Overseer Jacaren expressed his gratitude for what the Vault Dweller had done, claiming he had saved not only Vault 13, but possibly the entire human race. With a great sigh, the Overseer then explained that his newfound popularity would lead the younger residents of the Vault to want to leave, endangering Vault 13's population. Placing a hand on the Vault Dweller's shoulder, Overseer Jacaren stated simply, "I'm sorry, you're a hero and you have to leave." As the Overseer returned inside Vault 13, the Vault Dweller spent a moment in stunned disbelief. He had fought against the odds and saved Vault 13 and humanity, but his heroic deeds had also cost him everything he held dear. With shoulders lowered and with his sad, tired gaze fixed to the ground, the Vault Dweller turned around out of the cave and drifted into the wasteland, leaving Vault 13 and his former life behind. More stories on the Fallout universe are on the way, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see them. Please consider liking, commenting and sharing, it helps immensely. Our videos would be impossible without our kind patrons and YouTube channel members, whose ranks you can join via the links in the description to know our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our Discord, and much more. This is the Wizards and Warriors channel, and we will catch you on the next one.